Hey everyone, this is John and I've decided to do one more video on presentation skills. This one is about how to design the PowerPoint presentation itself. So what we need to remember when doing a PowerPoint is that it is just a tool to help us give out information. It is not the main source. You're the main source of information, so it should mostly be coming from you, and the PowerPoint is only a short summary of points and you will talk around these points. Always try to keep it interesting and engaging as well as much as you can, and I have some tips on how to do this. The first tip is probably the most important. Don't overload the page with text and images. So in other words, you never need to use full paragraphs. Sometimes you don't even need to use a full sentence. Too much text is bad and it will just make people go ugh, and they'll lose all interest. Even if they don't lose interest, they'll probably just spend the time reading your PowerPoint instead of actually listening to you. You also want to keep your text large so people at the back can read. There's no point having a presentation if nobody can read it. And focus on keywords and concepts. So you need to think to yourself, what are the priorities of your presentation? What points are you trying to get across? So you just want to state the point in a bullet point like I have here, and then talk around it in your own words. This removes any unneeded words and helps you to keep the PowerPoint more simple and not overload it with text. And then finally here we have a simple background is normally better. So simple backgrounds make it easier to read. However, I will say a completely plain background, white one, can be a little bit boring, so you should add in some sort of color or an image to brighten it up. But it is better to be a little bit more boring rather than completely unreadable, like this example here. The color of the background and the text make it very difficult to read and might even hurt your eyes trying to read it. There's way too much text. The images are combined with the text make it way too cramped, and you can just tell straight away that's not a good presentation. And here we have a better example. So you don't need to read the exact text, but you can see it's much more pleasant to the eye. It's easy to read and it's simple, yet the bright colors at least help to make it more interesting. So some more tips for you guys. Keep animations to a minimum. So these here are animations right now you're seeing when we make text appear or disappear or spin or all those stupid things. Making text appear is okay, but you want to try to keep your animations to a minimum. The reason why is you don't want to be constantly clicking through tons of animations. You might accidentally skip on to the next page. This will completely ruin your flow of speech. It will make you nervous, and it means that throughout the whole presentation you will constantly be talking and then looking back to make sure that you haven't accidentally skipped too far or not far enough. So keep your animations to a minimum. Also, you also want to keep text and colors simple. The most important thing is that people can actually read your PowerPoint, so you don't need to use fancy texts as these are often difficult to read, and just use color to highlight important words or points you want to make. Lastly, here we have use of pictures and graphs instead of text, and this can be really important. So you can just put up a picture of a graph instead of writing lots of text and talk around that. For example, this could be a slide on your PowerPoint now. This could be the title of the slide, and then you have your graphic here, and whatever it is, the title and the axis, you need to label it all right. And then you just talk about what this means. And this will make the PowerPoint much more engaging and interesting. You can also add in a little bit of text on the bottom or to the right hand side of the main take-home points of what this graph shows. Or you can show that on the next slide in case anyone didn't hear you properly. And then my final points for this here are that your speech doesn't need to be word for word the same as what's on the PowerPoint. In other words, don't just read the PowerPoint. Nobody came here to see you read. They want to see you present, and it's entertainment in a way. And similar to that, you also don't want to just read off a sheet of paper. So you don't really want to have any sheet of paper when you're out there. You just want to say it in your own words. However, if you really need some help, it should just be bullet points of what to talk about, and then you say it in your own words. When you're making your conclusion, you should say things like, to sum up, finally, or everything considered. And don't say last but not least. This is something you should use for the very last point that you are making before the conclusion, so not the actual conclusion. And that is my presentation. I hope you guys find it very useful, and you can email me with any suggestions for future videos you might have or topics. Thank you very much for watching.